Great. Okay, we can get started then. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the webinar today. And I'm going to first pass it off to my colleague, Annalisa, to introduce SIBA before we proceed.
Thanks, Encore. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Very excited to host this webinar on clean energy procurement options in China. Um, a bit of quick information about SEBA, the Clean Energy Buyers Association. We are an industry association based in the US, working with some of the world's largest energy buyers. And you can see our mission there, advancing reliable, affordable, carbon emissions-free energy globally. Encore and I are part of the global programs team, which works with our members and their suppliers in the Asia Pacific in particular to really focus on decarbonizing supply chains through enabling procurement um, of clean energy. And we do that through a few different ways. You'll see there on the right-hand side, one part is exactly what this webinar is intended to do, which is educating stakeholders, bringing together market experts to share their knowledge, and answer questions. Another one is really through markets and policy. So, advocating and representing our members, in different policy engagement opportunities in Asia Pacific to ensure that clean energy pathways are available in these various markets. And then tying that back to ensure that suppliers and our members have the knowledge to leverage these clean energy pathways.
Great. And we can move forward with the agenda for today. So, we're going to have RMI give an overview of the China market and policy. And after that, we're going to have one interactive session with a question and answer prepared. That will be followed by BASF giving their case study on corporate procurement and their experience of procuring clean energy in China. After that, we'll also have a second question for everyone so that you can interact with the speakers. You can also drop questions in the chat if you think of anything during the webinar. These are just some housekeeping rules to follow. The session is being recorded, so the recording will be shared within 1 week. And you can engage with people via the chat if you wish to. Also, just pulling up our antitrust reminder, so you could have a quick look at this as well. And we're going to start with RMI, who's our first speaker, and I'm going to pass it off to E to talk about RMI and give an overview of the market and policy overview for China.
Thank you, Anchor. Do I need to share my screen
No,
or?
I'll share the slides.
Okay, cool. Thank you guys, and thank you to the CIBA team for the invitation. I'm E from RMI China Power Team, and I'm happy to give this short policy and market overview today. And before we start jumping into the content, I would like to give a short introduction of our organization. So RMI is an independent nonprofit founded in 40 years ago. We transform global energy systems through market-driven solutions, and our headquarters is in Colorado. And for China program, the six icons in the middle on the right show different emission-heavy sectors and reflect how our China office is organized. And for our power department, our main work includes supporting China's new power system, looking at demand-side contributions, helping design regional and provincial power markets, and promoting new technologies and business models, and advancing green power, green electricity certificates, we call it GAC, and low carbon transitions. For green power, we next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. And for green power, we have been consistently supporting China's corporate green power procurement efforts since 2017, and we have maintained close communication with the National Institute responsible for green power trading and the GAC issuance. And on the public-facing side, you can see it on the left-hand side, the corporate green power procurement report is part of an ongoing series of reports that we have published since 2017 at a time when there was no green power trading market in China and no GAC system. And all reports in the series are available in both Chinese and English and can be accessed through our official websites in both languages. On the more consulting style side, we do work like what we did with SEBA this year. We're helping launch in-person training in China for big name suppliers. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. So according to the SIBA team's request, I'll start with a quick review of the most important policy in China's power market this year, and then move on to the two key green power sourcing options available in China. And the first and by far the most influential policy is document number 136, issued in February 2025 by NDRC and the NEA. So this policy established the renewable sustainable development pricing mechanism. It also we call it as mechanism pricing, which aims to improve the revenue visibility and the stability of wind and solar projects. Number 136 requires that all wind and solar generation should, in principle, participate in electricity market. So it shifts renewable generation from the old guaranteed procurement mechanism to now full market-based pricing. And under this document, renewable projects need to bid in order to enter this mechanism. And for projects that successfully enter the mechanism pricing, once they participate in energy market, they can then settle the price difference, which can even be negative through over-the-counter settlement, as shown in the equation on this slide. And if you're familiar with the contract for difference, we call it CFD models in the UK or Germany. This will look very similar to you. You can think of it as China's version of CFD, but it is a two-way contract for difference with the benchmark price, and it will be adjusted monthly. And for it is a little bit complete, but for the power user specifically, this policy has two main impacts, as I highlight in the slide. So first, the revenue from the mechanism pricing, which can be positive or negative, is included. It will be included in the system operation fees and shared by all industrial and commercial users within the province. And second, the document asks the renewable generation covered by the mechanism is not allowed to sell the GACs for revenue. So if you invest in a renewable project and it generates GACs, and if that part of the power is guaranteed by this mechanism, then you cannot sell the corresponding GACs. But how the corresponding GACs should be transferred and retired is still needs to be further clarified by each province. Next slide, please. Thank you. The second important policy is the regulation of distributed solar PV generation. The previous version of this document was released back in 2013, and after 11 years, the national government finally updated. So there are lots of there have some big changes, and the key impacts are this regulation divides the distributed solar projects into general commercial and industrial CNI projects and large-scale CNI projects. And it's based on either the grid connection voltage level or the total installed capacity. And meeting just one criteria is enough to be classified as the large scale. So what does this mean? I can give an example to help better understand it. So for example, if a project at 10 kilovolt voltage level, but with 8 megawatt of the capacity, then it would be considered as the large scale projects rather than the general. So why does this important? Because the grid export requirements for the two category is very different. For the large scale projects, it must use all electricity generated on site, which means the corporates need to have sufficiently large and stable load profiles. And for the general CNI projects, it's allowed to excess power into the grid, but most provinces require no less than 50% of total generation needed to be consumed on site. So corporates in the future, when you're planning to invest in the distributed solar PV, you will need to reevaluate the project feasibility and be more proactive in managing yourselves on-site load. Next slide, please. All right, so now let's start by taking a look at the current status of green power trading. And if you look at the left graph, you'll see the blue bars, which represent the green power trading volume. You can notice the steep increase. So in fact, in just the first half of 2024, the trading volume has already surpassed the total for all of 2023 by about 120%. And now let's focus on the red line. This represents the share of green power trading in the national power market. The share in the national power market has been steadily increasing year after year, reaching about 4% in 2024. And in terms of the pricing, the price settled in green power trading consists of energy price and the green premium. The energy price is usually referred to the coal power price, and the green premium is usually look at the GACs. And in 2024, both the energy price and the green premium for green power trading have declined compared to 2023. The reason behind that is these prices are mainly influenced by the coal power prices and the GACs. Since both coal power price and the GAC price dropped, it naturally led to the lower prices for green power trading as well. And a quick background before we dive into the regional prices. So China's grid service area is divided into three main regions. The state grid region, which covers more than 20 provinces, essentially most of China. And the southern grid region, which includes 5 provinces in the south, and the western Inner Mongolia power grid, which only cover half of the Inner Mongolia province. And in the state grid region, the average price for green power trading of 2024 was about 417 yuan per megawatt hour. That's lower than the 2023's level. And in the southern grid region, the average green premium for the first half of 2024 was 9 yuan per megawatt hour, a significant drop from 2023 average. The 2025 data usually released in the first 3 months of the first quarter in 2026. So that's why here we use the 2024 data here to show the better picture. But in terms of the 2025, it occurs the same trend as the last year. So overall, we are seeing a rapid growth in green power trading, along with the decline in trading price. Next slide, please. And for distributed projects, it grew really fast in recent years. You can see the growth in the upper right. In the first half of 2025, the newly installed capacity of distributed solar PV reached 113 gigawatt, accounting for about 53% of the total newly installed PV capacity. But as distributed solar PV increased very fast, it causes serious grid connection problems. So many regions are gradually implementing policies to regulate their development. Um, compared to the cumulative installations, you can look at the right-hand pie chart. We can see that while distributed solar PV has been growing rapidly, but the utility scale PVs is still slightly ahead in the cumulative installation. And as I mentioned earlier, the new distributed solar PV regulation will make a high self-consumption ratio be the future trend. So if a corporate still wants to export surplus generation to the grid, there are two options. First, participate in green power trading. And in this case, the corporate sells the gas together with the electricity. So it's like the bundled PPA, meaning it cannot retain the gas for its own green power compliance because you are the sellers, you are not the buyers of the green power. And the second option is participate in the conventional power trading, just like the coal power. So if the project enters the new pricing mechanism, as I mentioned before, it cannot obtain gas because the corresponding gas need to be transferred and so you cannot to obtain gas for any revenue. If it doesn't, if the project doesn't enter the mechanism pricing, then the corporate can keep the gas. Okay, the last page, slide, please. Thank you. Okay. Thank you all for taking time to listen to this debrief today. And our full report contains even more details and provides a clear picture of the key points we discussed. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download the report and explore it further. Uh, so I'm going to turn it over to the anchor. And if you have any questions, I can stay for one or two questions. And our team
Yeah.
is also happy to answer later. Yeah.
Yeah, we just had one question on the, what are the challenges faced by corporates who are wishing to procure clean energy in mainland China? And, maybe Irene as well, you could both give your perspective on this.
Yeah, so in general, actually it depends on the different provinces you are located. In the past, the green power trading is launched in China in 2021, but at that time, some of the south and east coast provinces have the difficult the corporate in south and the east coast provinces have difficult to procure green power. But for now, the supply and the demand is, I would say, it's in a balance, especially like in Zhejiang and Jiangsu, because the Jiangsu has lots of it imports lots of the green power from other provinces. So in general, I think it's balanced now, and but this is just for green power trading. If you would like to buy the gas, it's even more easy because currently the gas price is low and also the supply of the gas is much, it has a lot of the gas surplus. The gas supply, sub-supply is very sufficient. I think I would suggest if you want to install a distributed solar PV on the rooftop, I think this would be the next key point that you need to really look into because of the document 136. It requires all the surplus energy to participate in the power market, which means this part of the energy, the revenue of this part of energy it can be fluctuate depending by the power market price rather than the guaranteed price like what we have before. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Irene, do you have a perspective on the challenges faced by corporates?
Yeah, I think overall speaking, let's say challenges, I think, like what Jiang has said, supply is not an issue anymore. So initially, the challenge was really to find the adequate source of supply, and now the challenge is more to keep up with the fast pace of market development, and because it's not only about getting clean energy, it's about how to buy energy as a whole. It has changed quite a bit as well. So we as corporate buyers need to adapt quickly in terms of the change of the policy and to anticipate what could be the development trend of price. And if you want to lock in long-term PPAs, what are the complications to look out? I think these are the parts that are still sort of in the process of building up the experience and capacity, and this might be the biggest challenges for corporates in China.
Great, great. Thank you so much for that. And with that, we can move into the second session of the day. And Irene, I'll pass it off to you.
Yeah, sure. Cool. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I'm very happy to share a bit of our perspective in terms of getting renewables in China. So if you can move on to the first slide. I don't have a lot to share, but I think it would be an overall good opportunity to exchange. I think, first of all, it all starts from our own emission target. For BASF, it is very clear that we want to reach a net zero by 2050. So the interim target for 2030 would be to reduce a 25% on both Scope 1 and 2 emission compared with 2018 baseline, and also a target to reduce 15% on Scope 3.1. 3.1 actually refers to the raw materials that BASF purchase in producing our products, which is the majority of our Scope 3 emission coming from. So this is a target, and definitely renewable is a very important lever in achieving that target. So if you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so basically, I think this is what we see as a path or a roadmap to achieve our target. And as you can see, majority of the target will be very much relying on the transitioning from the gray energy to renewable energy. That would be a big chunk of it. Not only because BASF is in a very much energy intensive business, but also in the transitioning, we will increase quite substantially, or we anticipate to increase quite substantially on the electrification part, which means that it adds more on the electricity consumption. So renewable energy is a very important lever. Of course, we continue to look at the OpEx improvement, improving the efficiencies, and also looking at the other alternative technologies to abate our CO2 emissions. Next slide, please. In terms of our, so this is as a guiding principle, BASF in China, or let's say in APAC, because this is my coverage, in the past 3-4 years has been a very much a fast-paced journey. BASF has signed quite a number of long-term PPAs in China as the first I think one of the first ones that signed the long-term PPAs in China. Starting from 2021, actually, this is the year where a nationwide pilot has launched for renewable power trading. And of course, BASF has participated very actively in it. And then thereafter, we have signed a number of long-term deals with SPIC, with Getty, with Southwind, which is also a joint venture that BASF has established together with our partner Mingyang to co-invest in 500 megawatt offshore wind in the south part of China, where BASF has invested quite substantially recently for the construction of a new production site in Guangdong. So that investment is, I think, the largest single investment outside of Germany in the history of BASF. That's a 10 billion euro investment of a bond production facility in China, and by day one of the operation of the Verbund, we have announced to use 100% of renewable electricity, which is quite a large consumption volume. So therefore, immediately after the market starts to open, we signed three 25-year, 20-year long-term PPAs for that particular site. And then thereafter, we also signed a number of deals in China, in Korea, in India, and also for the other provinces in China as well, and trying really to increase the percentage of renewable as much as we can. And China, being one of the most liberal, I would say liberal market in APEC in terms of access and affordability and accessibility of renewables, of course, is the target for us to do more. So yeah, so this is for that. And I think if we can go to the next slide, we zoom in a little bit in China. I only have one slide because when I'm asked to speak about what are the important elements for China renewable market, I think there are just too many. There are really a lot of watch out. So these are the things that I think might be very relevant from a buyer perspective to look at. So first of all, I think in China, we have very flexible access now to clean energy. So there are various schemes becoming available, behind the meter projects, PPAs, GECs, equity investment. There's only missing the VPPA, but basically every other options are already there in the market. And I think you also probably noticed from the news in terms of the increment capacity build out, it's really massive. So in the last few years, I think in China now, the renewable energy generation percentage is already very close to 30%. Which is excluding hydro. So that is a very fast development. So there are more than enough for you to if you want to reach to a higher level of clean energy. But of course, I think on the other hand, it's not just about clean energy, because the whole power market is under very profound change in China to facilitate the rapid growth of renewable build out. So I think Jiang also mentioned one of the very important policy recently, the number 136 policy that basically pushes all the renewable into the market, also because the rapid growth of the build out. How do you avoid the curtailment issue? How do you increase the consumption? These are all the, let's say, relevant changes that the whole system needs to adapt to ensure actually an adequate consumption. So we as power users really need to learn how to play now in the evolving power market to optimize our costs while having access to the clean energy. So it is not about buying clean, it is about how to buy, what are the key essentials that you should include in a long-term PPAs, how does it work with the evolving power market when a spot market is opens now almost in every provinces, etc. So a lot of knowledge to learn. And then and this third very important factor is the China CFD scheme for renewables. I think this was also slightly touched upon by Jiang already. All the renewables are pushed into market. So what I look at from a buyer perspective are three things. One is what would be the bidding price? Several provinces have already started with their first round of bidding for new projects. So all the old projects before 1st of June this year will enter into the CFD scheme. Basically, it's the same as before, as we see from the provincial policy, all the old projects will still be protected. So what will be the new bidding price for the future price? I think this is very relevant because this would be quite, let's say, this will set a price anchor for the new future PPA price longer term, right? It's essentially, you are competing with the bidding scheme. In most of the provinces, it is lower now, and the bidding range is lower than the coal benchmark price, and the duration is typically around 12 years. So therefore, if you as a corporate buyer looking for a PPA, then essentially you are competing against these bidding price. And second is the system cost, because with the large build out of renewables, you can see that the electron price traded in the market will be very much suppressed, but the system costs will definitely increase. And who will bear that cost? Now the CFD scheme actually mandates the let's say because it's a CFD, so whatever that is the price gap that needs to be paid between the actual bidding price and the market price will be shared by all the industrial users. So basically, that means that we will have this addition in our electricity bill as the system cost sharing, and given the large build out, and also especially in some of the provinces when the solar build out is so massive and the solar capture price is going down, the bidding price, where the bidding price will be set against, is quite crucial, because then that would basically determine how much will be the gap to fill and how much that everyone in the market will have to bear the cost. So system cost is something that we also watch very closely for. And I think lastly is basically what the government is trying to do, the investment confidence, because pushing all renewables into the market creates more, let's say, uncertainties for the project owners. So that is one thing that the government needs to look at. So they will definitely try to balance that out with the bidding price as well. But of course, they also need to balance out the influences on the system cost, because this is what an industry user will care for, right? So in the end, it's a juggle between amongst the three important elements that the government is trying to make a balance, because it's quite clear that our president has already announced the target to reach 3,600 gigawatt by 2035, which means from now onwards, every year there has to be addition 200 gigawatt of installation happens to reach that target. So you have to also ensure that the investment confidence is there, that there is still adequate return for the project as well. So I think for the CFD scheme, these are the, let's say, the elements to look at. Essentially, it represents the interest from the investment side, from the user side, and also from the government side in terms of the target achievement. Yeah, and then lastly, I think there are a number of other relevant policies that we also need to watch out that could influence the supply and demand of renewables in the market. One is for sure the national RPS target. At the moment, it's cascaded down to the provincial level, and it's on an increment year-on-year basis. But there has been already an attempt from the government to push that RPS to industry users. So how that would evolve and how strongly the implementation would be, how determined the implementation will be, is something that we will also need to look at, because this would then form a basis of a mandatory demand for the green electricity, which at the moment is still missing. All the procurement is still based on voluntary. And then Of course, voluntary emission target, reduction target would influence the supply and demand in the market as well. And lastly is recently the GHG protocol scope 2 revision, which I will not elaborate, but definitely the change of the change of the scope 2 accounting principle and also some of the rules would make it more stringent for corporates to report their emissions, and this would definitely has quite an impact on the price on the renewable certificates in the market as well. So I think these are essentially the things that I think will be important watch outs for buyers in the market, and I hope that offers some fruitful thoughts. And yeah, very happy to have more exchanges offline as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irene. We just have a question over here about, how do green energy certificates help with supply chain decarbonization?
I think that helps a lot. I think that is a very, let's say, essential part because a green energy is a very important lever, I think, not only for BASF, but also for any manufacturing business. So this would also be, let's say, low-hanging fruit, I would say, because these are easily accessible. These are also at the moment in the market quite affordable as well. Yeah, so I think that would be a good starting point. And also when we are trying to engage with our supply chain, we also found out that actually, like I said, as a buyer, you already need to sort of catch up with the pace of the market development and power market reform. As our suppliers, they are probably even less equipped with capacity to buy power, to buy renewables. So therefore, a lot of the effort I see also from our peers, for example, Apple and the likes, are sort of investing into helping their supply chains to buy renewables. And GECs is definitely a very effective tool. And also this is it's the only, let's say, proof of consumption as mandated by the government. So in that sense, I think this is very helpful.
Great, thank you. And we have a question in the chat on how are GECs currently viewed by corporate buyers from a legitimacy perspective, especially regarding the double count risk.
My personal perspective, I don't think there is any double counting risk now, because I understand that when GECs were first introduced in 2017, it was essentially designed to replace the subsidies for the renewables. So there were a lot of questions around double counting, etc. But overall, over the time, the system has let's say, improved itself and then fixed some of the problems in terms of traceability, etc. I think now there is really no double counting issue anymore, because the entire generation, retirement, cancellation are all there. The steps are complete. So I don't think there is any double counting anymore. And the fact that it's the only consumption proof in China, and it's issued by and there is no other schemes now. Yeah, I mean, I think that's that's a very legitimate tool from my perspective.
Great. And we have another question on how does the cost of green energy tariffs as compared to traditional power plus GECs, and which is the better option?
The cost of green energy tariff. So the green energy tariff, what I understand is if you refer to the bundled transaction of green electricity, right? Meaning that you buy both the electron and the GECs together. So at the moment, depending on which provinces, and this year is a bit particular. Okay, so simply put, the bundled approach is more expensive than the traditional power plus GEC option, which is the unbundled approach. Now, previously, the price gap is not so significant. So there is some price gap, but not very particular. So bundled will be slightly more expensive than unbundled. However, this year it's quite different. It's significantly more expensive than the unbundled approach because of the introduction of the CFD scheme. So the CFD scheme, when it's introduced, you can imagine that all the existing projects before, which means that COD before 1st of June, are eligible to enter into the CFD scheme for the remainder of the lifetime of the assets. And this is basically a transitional period for the between the old policy and the new policy. So therefore, rationally, all the existing projects go into the CFD scheme because that is considered as a protection, right? So therefore, in the market now, there is a sudden shortage of renewable power trading because previously all these projects, some of the subsidy free projects have already participated in the market in the past 2 to 3 years, but now they're eligible for the CFD scheme and they all went into the CFD scheme. So that creates a short-term shortage in the market if you look for a bundled renewable electricity. That's why this year's market price for the bundled green electricity is much, much more expensive than traditional power plus GEC. So I think in the end, it's also a decision that a corporate needs to make based on your own, buying criteria. If you have a quality criteria on a different approaches, then you may consider differently. If you see them being the same effect, then naturally you would go for the cheaper option.
Great, great. Thank you so much for that. And we'd like to thank you, Irene, for taking out the time today. Really appreciate you speaking. And for everyone on the call, this is how you can connect with us at SIBA on our website, on X, and on LinkedIn. I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to join the webinar, and the recording would be shared within 1 week. So thank you so much, everyone.